students, a very good afternoon to all of you, and I welcome all of you to yet another very interesting session on the YouTube channel of ODA Class. So dear students, we are going to continue to learn the topic, that is the interdependence in the living beings, and this is the part 2 of that video. If you have yet not watched the previous part, you can go ahead and watch that and then come and join for this session. So dear champions, to continue to learn such amazing and interesting topics in a fun and interesting way, you can download our live learning app and experience the ODA way of learning for yourself. Now dear students, I also welcome you to download this app and join our 1 week long concept booster program, wherein we teach you with many fun activities, and you can enroll yourself by clicking in the link in the description box at a very affordable price of just rupees 29.49 or 99. So dear students, let us begin this session with my introduction. So dear champions, my name is KRITIKA Sharma and I am your Master Science teacher here at ODA Class. More about myself, I have completed my post-graduation from Punjab University, Chandigarh, secured rank 1 in PUCET PG, and in my more than 2 years of teaching experience, I have taught, I have mentored thousands of students just like you. Some of them are also Olympiad rank holders. Let's dive deep into the subject now, my dear students, and today we are all going to learn about further, that is the interdependence in the living beings. So dear champions, in the previous part of this chapter that I took some days ago, you can watch that as well, we learned about living things. What are the properties of any living thing? Other than that, we also categorize the living things into certain categories. So dear champions, we categorize the living things as the producers, the consumers, the microorganisms and the decomposers. Now the producers are also known as the autotrophs, which produce their own food. And after that comes the consumers or the heterotrophs, which are dependent upon other living things like the producers or other consumers for their nutrition, for their food requirements. Now consumers are also further divided into herbivores, carnivores and the omnivores. And then we have the microorganisms as well as the decomposers, which break down the complex substances into the simpler substances so that things can easily decompose or assimilate back into the environment. So this was what we had studied in the last session, and today we are going to focus more upon how the organisms in the environment, they are all interdependent upon amongst each other. Not only the living organisms, the non-living things, we are also dependent upon them, and of interdependence in the living organisms. Now, first of all, let us try to understand what exactly does interdependence means. So, as the name suggests, as the word says, interdependence, it means being dependent upon one another or the other things for the life processes. Now, the living things as well as the non-living things, for example, the biotic and the abiotic components of the environment, they are all dependent, or I would say interdependent upon each other. Now, dear champions, have a look right here. A very short and sweet example. We as humans or the animals, they are all dependent upon the plants for their food requirements. Similarly, even plants are dependent upon us, or they are dependent upon the animals for nutrition, for the seed dispersal and various other processes. So it's all a cycle. We are dependent upon plants and even the plants are dependent on processes. Now, dear champions, let us try to understand more how we are dependent, we as humans as well as animals, how we are dependent upon the plants. So dear students, animals and humans, they are all dependent upon plants. Number one, the primary reason is the food. We are all dependent upon plants for the food. And as I had taught you even in the last session, that the food chain or the food web, it begins with the producers or the green plants. So number one, we are all dependent upon the animals, we are all, we are dependent upon the plants for the food. Second, we are dependent upon the plants for the shelter as well. They do provide us the shelter. In case of animals, the plants are their homes. They make up their nest or their homes in the plants. However, for humans, we take up wood, which is very essential for constructing our shelters. Other than that, we are also dependent upon the plants for oxygen. Right? We all are aware about the process of photosynthesis. Now, the process of photosynthesis, in that kind of process, so we as humans or the animals, we are all producing a gas, that is the carbon dioxide. We are all releasing it when we respire. Now, this carbon dioxide, it is taken up by the green plants, and they take up this and they make their own food by the process of known as photosynthesis, and after that process, they release the gas of oxygen, which is very essential for the survival of the humans. Right? So, in this way, the green plants or the trees, they are all responsible for maintaining a balance of oxygen as well as carbon dioxide in our atmosphere. Right? So, this is one of the way how we are dependent upon green plants for the oxygen and for our respiration. Similarly, we as humans, we have various needs and we have expanded since the mankind has started. So, we are also dependent upon green plants. We are dependent primarily for our food, for natural fibers, for wood, rubber, gum, raisins, as well as we are also dependent for spices and medicinal compounds. For all of these things, we are all simply dependent upon plants. Now, is it that we are dependent upon plants, but the plants are not dependent upon us? No, that is not the case. So, now we are going to learn about how we as humans or the plants, they are all dependent upon the animals or upon the plants. So, have a look right here. Plants as well as humans, they are all dependent upon animals. What? Have a look. So, we are dependent for the carbon dioxide. The plants are dependent upon the animals for release of the carbon dioxide. As I mentioned earlier as well, that, see, we as humans or even the animals, in the process of respiration, we inhale the air. When we inhale the air, our body, our lungs, they will absorb all of the oxygen that was there, right, for our body processes, and we would release out the carbon dioxide and other gases. So, in short, we are consuming the oxygen and we are giving out carbon dioxide. So, plants are dependent upon us for carbon dioxide. Now, the plants are also dependent upon the animals or upon humans for the nutrition. Like, so we know that the decomposers or the saprotrophs, they thrive on the dead and decaying matter. They break down these complex substances into the smaller substances. Similarly, so these smaller substances would in turn become a source of nutrition for the growing plants. Right? So that is how the plants are dependent upon us for obtaining their nutrition, and then the plants are also dependent upon the humans as well as the animals for the seed dispersal. How for the seed dispersal? So many a times some kind of seeds, they have special hook-like structure like tiger nail or like xanthium seeds. They have special structure and they are stuck to animal's body or animal's body fur, and then they are transported over to the long distances, and that is how the seeds are dispersed. Similarly, animals or humans, we take some kind of fruit, we eat it and we throw away the seeds to some other places, which in turn will help in the seed dispersal, as the seed will now grow away from where the parent plant actually was. So this is another way how we or the plants are all dependent upon the animals for various processes. Now, that is not it. There are some other kind of complex things, complex processes of interdependence also taking place, and one such process is symbiosis. So let us now learn about the process of symbiosis, dear students. So symbiosis is nothing but it is a close relationship. It is a close relationship between different organisms probably of different species. Now, in this process, in this close relationship, at least one of the organism is being benefited. Now, the other organism, what about the other organism? Let us try to understand that as well. So, one organism, at least one organism in this close relationship is being benefited. The other organism, it can either be unaffected by this symbiotic relationship, it can either be harmed in this symbiotic relationship, or it can also be benefited mutually. So this symbiosis is a very common example. We see it in a lot of situations. Right here I have a very simple example to understand this process of symbiosis. So here we have a deer or an antelope, and this deer and an antelope is roaming around, simply roaming around. However, what you can observe right here is some of the birds are resting upon this deer or this antelope. Now in this relationship, the birds, they are able to rest, or they are also able to move some distances, but in this case the deer or the antelope is not getting any benefit out of the birds. So this is a very easy example of symbiosis in which the deer is not getting benefited, but the birds are able to rest, so they are getting some sort of benefit out of this symbiosis relationship. Now, this is in the process, or in this relationship of symbiosis, at least one organism is getting benefited. However, there is one more process of interdependence in the living beings, and that process is known as the competition. So let us try to learn about competition now. Now I am sure, students, that you all must be having some sorts of competition even in schools. Some kind of program, some debate competition, some kind of sports competition. So similarly, here as well in the nature also there is competition taking place. How is that happening? So we will all learn that now. So competition, dear students, it is a relationship between the living things that depend on the same resources. So the living organism, which can either be the same species or the different species, they are depending upon the same resource, and the competition is to obtain the best of those resources. So now let us try to understand more about it. Now the competition occurs whenever the two species try to get the same resources in the same place and the same time, and this results into a competition. Now in this type of case, you all must have learned a term, the survival of the fittest. So whoever is the fittest, is the best amongst both the species, win, and the other species is not benefited from this competition. So competition occurs when there is when both the species, they are trying to get the same resource at the same time at the same place. So this is another example how things are interdependent upon each other. Now dear students, we learned about the interdependence amongst the various living beings. Now due to all of this, there is a balance created in our nature, in our ecosystem. So first let us try to understand what exactly is ecosystem. So dear students, ecosystem, it is a group of living organisms, and it also comprises their environment and the abiotic things they might be dependent upon. It includes living as well as non-living components. An ecosystem includes both, and how they interact with each other in the environment. So this is what an ecosystem is, and the interdependence, it maintains a balance in the environment, in the nature, or we can say in an ecosystem. Now the nature maintains balances in all types of its environments. Now dear students, due to some of the activities, there is an imbalance created in the nature, right? So let us try to understand how in the nature there is some kind of imbalance going on. The very first reason for it can be the human intervention. With increased human intervention in the natural processes, definitely there is some kind of imbalance in the nature. Let us try to understand it. As you can see, we humans have become greedy to some extent, and we are trying to obtain as many resources as possible, and in turn generating a lot of garbage and creating a lot of pollution. So this is one way how we have created imbalance in the nature. Similarly, we are cutting a lot of forests, so that in turn is also responsible for creating imbalance in the nature, because we are hampering the natural processes. We are hampering, or we are intervening into the natural habitat of various organisms, which in turn come and intervene in the habitat of the humans. So this is how a whole lot of imbalance has been created. Now, another way an imbalance in the nature can be created is in this way. That is hunting and killing the animals. So now we do have a lot more strict laws regarding hunting and killing, but in the earlier days we did hunt or killed a lot of living organisms, due to which the food chain or the food web or the food cycle in general, that was hampered. This in turn created an imbalance in the nature. Like for example, we are all usually irritated by the rats if we have some kind of rodents or rats around us. Now, a few years ago, there was a case wherein there were a lot of rats in the fields or in the farms, and what they used to do, they in turn used to, damage the crops. So, the farmers of that particular area, they decided to kill away the rats. So, they spread some kind of medicines, some kind of pesticides, so that these rats can be killed. In some cases, they were also trapped and killed. So in that area, the population of rats was affected, due to which now the snakes were not able to get their food. Now when the snake was not able to get their food, even they decreased. Now the number of the population of snakes decreased. Similarly, it in turn created another imbalance, as now the eagles or some other organisms who depended upon snake for their food requirement, even they were not able to get the nutrition. And that is how the imbalance was created in the nature. So this is just a simple example how hunting and killing can create some kind of imbalance in the nature. Now let us move further, and dear students, natural disasters. Now in some cases the humans have no impact, or they have no role in natural disasters, but if there is any kind of natural disaster in any place, that would ultimately disrupt a way, or it will create an imbalance in the nature, right? So natural disasters is also one of the way how imbalance in the nature is created, right? Now dear students, let us all move ahead, and now we will try to understand, we will try to figure out a few ways on how we can stop or restore the balance in the nature, right? We can stop the imbalance or restore the balance that has been created in the nature, and we are going to learn some very simple ways that, my dear students, even you can implement in your daily lives. So let us try to understand some ways of restoring the balance, and the very first way we can restore back the imbalance that we have created in the nature is by banning deforestation and planting more trees, or creating or implementing afforestation. That is one way of creating balance in the nature or restoring the nature. How is it going to affect? First of all, it is going to affect our the pollution that is there these days, that is prevalent these days, air pollution specifically. So when we are planting more and more trees, the pollution will reduce. The animals or the birds, they will find a new habitat, and our nature, our surroundings will be a lot more greener. So this is the very first way on how we can restore the balance in the nature. Now other than that, what the government actually doing is, so government has restricted some kind of areas where there is dominant of animals, where the animals or various species have their natural habitat. So the government has restricted those areas, and those areas are known as the national parks or the wildlife sanctuaries. Now these national parks and the wildlife sanctuaries, they have specific, these are specific mentioned areas wherein humans cannot intervene, or even if they go, they require some special permission or special pass, and it is created in such a way so that we can restore the natural habitat of the living creatures, of various animals, which can be impacted if humans intervene in this area. So this is another way of restoring the balance in the nature. And then protecting the wild animals for being hunted for leather, fur, nails or horns. So we must protect the wildlife that we have so that we can restore the balance in the nature. So these were the ways, and that is it for this session. Let us have a quick summary of what we have studied in this session. So in this session we understood what exactly is interdependence. We also understood how we are dependent upon plants, how we are dependent upon animals, how animals or plants are dependent upon us. That is what we learned. We also understood the concept of symbiosis and competition that is very prevalent in our environment or in our surroundings. We understood the balance in the nature or the ecosystem, and since there is an imbalance now, how we can restore that balance once again. So dear students, I hope you really liked this session as well as you enjoyed whatever I had taught you in this class. Now dear champions, to continue to learn such amazing topics, I really want you to come and join our 1 week long program, that is the Concept Booster program. Now in this Concept Booster course, we will be teaching you some very important core concepts that are necessary for your school exams as well as for your competitive exams, and they build a strong foundation for your higher grades. This 1 week long program will be providing you with maths and science sessions, a personal mentor teacher who will be helping you, who will be guiding you whenever you have an academic related problem, and they are just one call away. Other than that, you will be getting tests, homeworks, and also some kind of e-material which will help you learn and understand the concepts in a theoretical way, in a very best possible way. So to enroll into this program, all you have to do is click on the link in the description box and go ahead with the enrollment for a very affordable price of $29.49.99 based upon your class or your grades. So that is it for this session, dear students. I wish to see you all in the Concept Booster course. So that is it, dear champions. I hope you did enjoy and like the session. Thanks a lot, dear students.